The town of Ravencroft nestled quietly in the shadow of the Blackthorn Mountains, a picturesque setting with rolling hills, dense forests, and a crystal-clear river cutting through the landscape. It was a town with a dark past, where whispers of old legends and folklore danced on the tongues of the elders. The most haunting of these tales was that of the Blood Moon Ritual, a night of sacrifice and terror that came once in a generation when the moon turned a deep crimson red. Elena Blackwood, a young historian and scholar, arrived in Ravencroft on a misty autumn evening. She was drawn to the town by an old diary she discovered in the archives of her university. The diary belonged to a woman named Isolde Grey, who wrote about the Blood Moon Ritual in harrowing detail. Elena, intrigued by the diary's contents and driven by a passion for uncovering hidden truths, decided to investigate further. The townsfolk were wary of outsiders, especially those who came asking about the blood moon. Elena felt their eyes on her as she walked through the narrow cobblestone streets towards the inn. The innkeeper, a grizzled man named Harold, greeted her with a gruff nod. "Room for one?" he asked, not looking up from his ledger. "Yes, please." "I'm here for research," Elena replied, placing her bag on the counter. Harold's eyes flicked up, a hint of concern in their depths. "Research, eh? And what might you be researching?" "The Blood Moon Ritual," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Harold's expression darkened, and he leaned in closer. "Listen, miss, some things are best left alone. That ritual, it's not just a story. It's real, and it's dangerous." Elena nodded, undeterred. "I appreciate the warning, but I need to know the truth." Harold sighed and handed her a key. "Room 7. Keep to yourself, and don't go poking around where you shouldn't." Elena thanked him and made her way to her room, her mind racing with thoughts of the diary and the mysteries it promised to unravel. That night, Elena sat by the flickering light of a candle, reading the passages of Isolde Grey's diary. The entries painted a vivid picture of fear and desperation. Isolde wrote about the blood moon, a celestial event that occurred every 30 years. During this time, the town was plunged into chaos as a malevolent force demanded a sacrifice. Isolde's words were filled with dread. October 13th, 1793. The blood moon rises tonight. The air is thick with fear, and the town is on edge. They say the moon turns red from the blood of the sacrificed. I hear whispers of who will be chosen. My heart aches for them, for there is no escape. Elena shivered as she read on, the room growing colder with each passing moment. She felt a connection to Isolde, a kinship born of curiosity and courage. She knew she had to find out more about what happened to her in the town all those years ago. The following day, Elena visited the town's small library, hoping to find more clues about the blood moon ritual. The librarian, an elderly woman named Agnes, watched her with keen eyes as she perused the dusty shelves. "Can I help you find something, dear?" Agnes asked, her voice soft but firm. "I'm looking for any records or documents about the blood moon ritual," Elena replied. Agnes sighed, her gaze drifting to the window. "That dark chapter of our history is not well documented. Most people are too afraid to speak of it." "Why? What really happened?" Elena pressed. Agnes hesitated, then leaned closer. "The blood moon ritual is more than just a legend. It is a pact made long ago, a pact with something ancient and evil. Every 30 years, a sacrifice is made to appease the entity that haunts our town. If we don't comply, the consequences are dire." Elena's heart pounded in her chest. "What kind of consequences?" "Death, madness, and suffering beyond measure," Agnes whispered. "The last blood moon was in 1984. Many people disappeared, and those who remained were never the same. Elena thanked Agnes and left the library, her mind reeling with the weight of what she had learned. She knew she had to dig deeper to uncover the full extent of the horror that had plagued Ravencroft for centuries. Determined to find answers, Elena decided to explore the forests surrounding Ravencroft. According to Isolde's diary, the ritual took place at a hidden altar deep within the woods. Armed with a map and a flashlight, she ventured into the dense foliage, the trees looming like silent sentinels. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sounds being the crunch of leaves beneath her feet and the occasional rustle of small animals. After hours of searching, Elena stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood an ancient stone altar, covered in moss and vines. Strange symbols were carved into the surface, their meanings lost to time. As Elena examined the altar, she felt a chill run down her spine. This was the place where countless sacrifices had been made, where innocent lives were offered to a malevolent force. She could almost hear the echoes of their screams, feel the terror that had permeated the air. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence. "You shouldn't be here." Elena spun around to see a tall man standing at the edge of the clearing. He was dressed in dark clothing, his eyes cold and unyielding. "Who are you?" Elena demanded, her voice trembling. "My name is Marcus. I'm one of the few who know the truth about the blood moon ritual," he replied, stepping closer. Elena's curiosity overpowered her fear. "Tell me everything." Marcus sighed, his expression grim. "The ritual is a curse placed upon this town by a vengeful spirit. Long ago, the townsfolk wronged a powerful witch named Morgana. In her dying breath, she cursed Ravencroft, demanding a blood sacrifice every 30 years to sate her thirst for revenge." Elena's eyes widened. "And if the sacrifice isn't made, the spirit's wrath will be unleashed upon the town. There will be death and destruction on a scale you can't imagine," Marcus said. "We tried to break the curse once, but it only made things worse. Now, we have no choice but to comply." As the night of the blood moon approached, the tension in Ravencroft grew palpable. People avoided Elena, their faces etched with fear and suspicion. She knew she was getting close to the truth, but time was running out. One evening, as she was poring over Isolde's diary in her room, she heard a knock at the door. It was Marcus, his expression more serious than ever. "They've chosen the sacrifice," he said quietly. Elena's heart sank. "Who is it?" "A young girl named Lily. She's only 16, Marcus replied, his voice filled with sorrow. Elena felt a surge of anger. "We can't let this happen. There has to be another way." Marcus shook his head. "I've been searching for a way to break the curse for years. But nothing works. The spirit is too powerful." Elena refused to accept this. She knew there had to be a way to stop the ritual and save Lily. She decided to visit the town's oldest resident, an old woman named Edna, who was rumored to have knowledge of ancient spells and rituals. Edna's house was on the outskirts of town, a small, dilapidated cottage surrounded by a garden of withered flowers. When Elena knocked, the door creaked open, revealing a frail woman with piercing blue eyes. "I've been expecting you," Edna said, her voice raspy. "Please, I need your help," Elena pleaded. "There must be a way to break the curse." Edna motioned for her to enter. "Come in, child. There are things you need to know." Inside, the air was thick with the scent of herbs and old books. Edna led Elena to a small table cluttered with candles and crystals. "The curse of the blood moon is tied to Morgana's spirit," Edna explained. "To break it, you must confront her and perform a counter-ritual. But be warned, it is a dangerous task. Morgana's spirit is powerful and vengeful. Elena listened intently as Edna described the steps of the counter ritual. It required a special talisman made from the heart of a white oak tree and infused with the blood of the chosen sacrifice. You must perform the ritual at the altar during the peak of the blood moon, Edna said. Only then can Morgana's spirit be appeased and the curse lifted. Elena nodded, determination in her eyes. She knew what she had to do. With Edna's guidance, Elena set out to gather the necessary components for the counter ritual. She found the white oak tree deep in the forest, its ancient branches reaching towards the sky. Using a small knife, she carefully cut a piece of its heartwood. Next, she needed the blood of the chosen sacrifice. This was the hardest part, as she had to convince Lily to trust her. Marcus helped her sneak into the house where Lily was being kept, guarded by her terrified family. The house was dimly lit, filled with an air of impending doom. Lily, a frail girl with wide, fearful eyes, sat on a wooden chair in the corner, her hands trembling. Elena knelt before her, gently taking her hands. Lily, I know you're scared, but I need your help to break this curse and save the town. Lily's eyes filled with tears. What do I have to do? Elena explained the counter ritual, emphasizing the importance of the talisman and the blood. We need a small amount of your blood, just enough to complete the talisman. It won't hurt much, I promise. Lily nodded, her resolve strengthening. If it will save everyone, I'll do it. Marcus handed Elena a small vial and a sterilized needle. With utmost care, she pricked Lily's finger, allowing a few drops of blood to fall into the vial. She then mixed it with the heartwood of the white oak, chanting the ancient words Edna had taught her. The talisman glowed with a soft, eerie light, indicating that it was ready. As the night of the blood moon approached, Elena, Marcus, and Lily made their way to the hidden altar in the forest. The moon hung low in the sky, a deep crimson hue casting an eerie glow over the landscape. The air was thick with tension and the sound of distant howling. When they reached the clearing, Elena placed the talisman on the altar and began the counter ritual. She recited the incantations, her voice steady and unwavering. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and a cold wind swept through the trees, carrying with it a chilling whisper. Suddenly, a figure materialized before them, a spectral woman with flowing dark hair and eyes that burned with hatred. Morgana's spirit had arrived. Who dares to defy me? She hissed, her voice echoing through the forest. Elena stood her ground. I do. We seek to end this curse and free the town of your wrath. Morgana laughed, a sound filled with malice. You think you can break my curse? You are foolish to challenge me. Elena held up the glowing talisman. We have the means to appease you. If we perform this ritual, will you let the town be? Morgana's eyes narrowed, considering the offer. Very well. But if you fail, my vengeance will be greater than ever before. Elena continued the incantations, her voice growing stronger with each word. The talisman pulsed with light, casting a protective barrier around them. Morgana's spirit howled in rage, trying to break through, but the barrier held firm. As the ritual neared its climax, Morgana's spirit began to weaken. Her form flickered, becoming less substantial. Elena took a deep breath and stepped forward, meeting Morgana's gaze. Morgana, hear me. Your curse has caused untold suffering for generations. It is time to let go of your anger and find peace. Morgana's expression softened for a moment, a flicker of sadness crossing her face. They wronged me. They deserve to suffer. Elena nodded, understanding her pain. I know they did. But not everyone is responsible for their actions. Punishing the innocent will not bring you peace. Tears welled in Morgana's eyes. What do you know of my suffering? I know what it is to lose, to feel betrayed, Elena said softly. But holding on to that pain only destroys you. Let us help you find peace. Morgana's form wavered, and she let out a long, mournful wail. The forest seemed to hold its breath as the spirit finally began to dissipate, her anger and sorrow lifting like a heavy fog. The crimson hue of the moon faded, replaced by its natural silvery light. Hashtag Chapter 10, A New Dawn. As the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, Elena, Marcus, and Lily stood together, exhausted but triumphant. The curse had been lifted, and the town of Ravencroft was free from its dark legacy. The forest was alive with the sounds of birdsong, a stark contrast to the terror of the night before. The townsfolk emerged from their homes, bewildered but relieved. They gathered in the town square, where Elena and Marcus explained what had happened. There were tears of joy and expressions of gratitude, mixed with a somber acknowledgement of the lives lost over the years. Elena stayed in Ravencroft for a few more days, helping the town begin to heal. She and Marcus grew closer, bound by their shared experience. Lily, though still shaken, found strength in knowing she had played a crucial role in saving her town. Before leaving, Elena visited Edna one last time. The old woman smiled, her eyes twinkling with pride. You have done well, child. The spirits are at peace, and so is Morgana. Elena nodded. Thank you for your guidance. I couldn't have done it without you. Edna chuckled. Sometimes, the most powerful magic is simply the courage to do what is right. With a final farewell, Elena left Ravencroft, her heart lighter and her mind filled with the stories of those she had met. She knew that the town would no longer be haunted by the blood moon ritual, but it would never forget the sacrifices made to break the curse. Years passed, and Ravencroft thrived. The tale of the blood moon ritual became a story of resilience and redemption passed down through generations. The forest grew lush and green, the altar hidden beneath a blanket of moss and wildflowers. Elena Blackwood continued her work as a historian, her reputation growing with each new discovery. But the story of Ravencroft held a special place in her heart, a reminder of the power of courage, compassion, and the unyielding human spirit. And on clear nights, when the moon hung high in the sky, Elena would often look up and remember the night the blood moon was defeated, knowing that some legends, no matter how dark, could always find a way to end in light.